It's market day! So today is going to be a 4-hour Friday market. It is from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's currently 2 o'clock, so I'm gonna head out. It's about an hour drive, and then that'll give me about 2 hours to set up. I am going into this market very unprepared. So I have been working a summer job full-time and have not had motivation nor the time to inventory prep. So we've got a little less than 2,000 of crochet inventory. I did end up having to grab all of my Halloween inventory to try to help me out, but a lot of it is like the bigger plushies, and I was only able to make a handful of smaller plushies that I normally sell, and my Pottery is also running low on like the best sellers. So this will be an interesting market. I think my goal is going to be 700. Try to give myself a reasonable goal, I think. I've done this market a lot. I've made it anywhere from 650 to, when I did this market in May, I did 1,400. And it is a high of 100 today, so I have my fan. But I think 700, giving myself a goal on the lower end, is reasonable for the weather, the time of year, and the inventory that I have. So hopefully we can do 700. And I'm about to get on the road. It is really hot right now, so I need to turn my car on and get some AC going. And I'll catch you when I'm there. My name is Allie, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the maker behind Crochet in the Mud, where I do both crochet plushies and pottery. So I'll quickly throw in a booth tour. This is what the setup's looking like today. Pretty bare. There's all the Halloween stuff, some bigger plushies, and then my very dismal amount of pottery. Started off the market a little rocky. I got here later than I wanted to because the traffic was pretty rough and I forgot I needed to get gas. So then I get to the market, and this is one where you pull up to your spot and then you unload your car and then you go park and come back and set up. So I pulled in. My neighbor to my right was already here. They were fully set up. And then my neighbor two to the left, but I thought they were to my direct left, had their tent like in the middle of the road, so I couldn't pull up to my spot. So I was having to awkwardly like shimmy out between my car and the tent that was already set up. And then they finally scoot over. And then my actual left neighbor shows up, but they park in front of me in the middle of the road where I can't get around them. So I was gonna try to shimmy around them, and then a market coordinator told me to wait, which, no, I can get around. So whatever, I finally go park my car and come over. But also, while I was unloading, one of my totes, I was holding it by the handle and it fell and everything spilled out of it. Nothing broke, luckily. But my neighbor to my right just stared at me and watched me pick it up. I mean, like, you don't have to help me, but like, don't stare at me while I'm having to clean up what I dropped. So then while I'm parking my car, one of the volunteers sets up my left neighbor's tent for them. Clearly he knows them. But then my neighbor to my right is over the line into my side. So we were shimmying my tent in, and it's hitting both sides of the tent. And I had to ask them to scoot over and be on their side of the line. Like, the line is clearly marked on there. But then I just had to quickly get over and throw everything in. But like, all of these things could have been avoided if, when you're unloading, you're supposed to be all the way over. If that car had parked all the way over and not been blocking in the middle of the way, I could have gotten around faster. If people would all be on their side of the line, which is common courtesy, and also like, not even just courtesy, like, those are the rules, be on your side of the line. But I'm all set up now. So it's now almost 5:20, no takers yet, but there's people walking around. There were also a lot of people walking around before the festival opened, which was stressful because I wasn't set up yet, because I didn't get to start setting up until 4 because I got stuck in the traffic jam of trying to unload. Yeah, not too thrilled with the inventory quantities I have, but you know, I got what I got. Hopefully we can make some sales. It is now much later, so I didn't get a lot of clips at this market. As you saw in the clips I did get, had a rough start, which mostly was just me being grumpy. I was not prepared at all for this market, so it's a little bit of what was going into it. So I kind of mentioned in the clips that I was not in an ideal placement. I was towards the end instead of in the middle like I normally am. And at the one that's coming up in September, which actually, as of me filming, is in 2 days, I am in the same-ish spot. So I'm like 2/10 closer to the middle, but essentially same area. So we'll see how that one goes. But this market did not go very well. And there's multiple reasons that I believe that happened, but we'll dive into it. So I do this market all the time. They do it from May through September. And I'll kind of throw up my sales numbers. So May and September are definitely the best months. This could be due to it being the first of the year, so everyone's excited for it to come back. And then the last of the year, so everyone being sad it's leaving. It could be the weather because it's not quite as hot in May and September. Lots of reasons that this could be. So I think moving forward, I'll probably only do this market in May and September. It just worked out this year that timing-wise, I could not do the June and July date. So it's also under new management's the wrong word. It's being taken care of by different people because the person who used to do it moved states, which is unfortunate. I loved him. But, I mean, there's been no issues with the new people so far. So, the weather this day wasn't that bad. I mean, it was pretty hot when we were setting up. But then after that, I don't even think I turned my fan on. It was a pretty good temperature. And then it rained. So about 30 minutes before the end of the market, it started sprinkling for like 2 minutes and everyone left. So that kind of also didn't help. So this market, typically people will be shopping before it even opens, which they're not supposed to be able to get in, but I mean, the market coordinators who are, and the volunteers, they don't know if you're a vendor, if you're a shopper when you're coming in. So I mean, I can't put too much blame on them. But typically it's 5 to 9. I want to say like 6 to 8 is like big numbers. And then normally I'll make sales while I'm packing up. So this market did not have me make sales while I was packing up because everyone left and there were no people. And then what was a bummer too was during teardown. So typically when I'm doing it by myself, it takes me about an hour to tear down and then load my car and leave. So I was actually very proud of myself where I had torn down pretty quickly, went to get my car, and saw on my side, which I'm normally on the other side when it comes to load in and load out, I was on the side by the food trucks, and there was a line of cars just sitting there because the coordinators were not letting us in until the food trucks were gone, which I think is a stupid rule. But we'll see how it is again in September because I'll be on the same side. There also just, even before the rain hit, didn't seem to be the normal amount of people walking around. I thought maybe because I'm over by the food trucks, it's not, like I'm not at the worst end. But, I don't know. It just was not ideal for crowd nor inventory I brought. So I believe I mentioned, but I only had $2,000 of crochet inventory, which is a lot, yes, but it was a lot of the not ideal inventory. So I had a lot of big plushies and not a lot of little stuff, which little stuff is what you're gonna sell, unfortunately. Even my pottery, I didn't have very good selection, so I just was not set up for this market at all. And like I mentioned, it was the last day of my seasonal position, so it was a real bummer that I missed the last day. And they were sending texts, they did group photos and all of that, and they did some cool activities that weren't planned, that I was really bummed to then see that while I'm sitting there with no customers. So this was a lot of I was in the wrong mental headspace. So I will quickly go over what all sold. I can't even call bestsellers because there's not really. I mean, the biggest category would be stickers, which is not normally a thing. So I'll just quickly go by. Pocket octopus, I sold 4. Stingray, I sold 3. I sold 1 mallard duck, 3 axolotls. I brought 2 light pink and 2 light blue. I know it was the... Actually, I don't know for certain. Whichever one I still had, people wished I had the other color still. So I think I sold both of the blues. And then people were sad that I didn't have more blue because some guys came up and they're too cool for pink because they're boys, right? I sold 1 tofu turtle. I sold 2 whales, 1 of each size, which those were exciting. Except that sale annoyed me a little. So it was 2 brothers and 1 got the whale and then the other got 2 small plushies because they added up to the same price. And then they wanted a bag, so I wasn't sure if... So my bags, I do clear plastic bags for crochet plushies, and then I have paper bags for pottery because that's heavier and needs a sturdier bag to carry it around. And typically with siblings, I will ask if they're okay with the same bag or if they want separate bags, and I'll usually do it no issue. But they wanted a bag, so I wasn't sure if the whale was going to fit in my largest plastic bag, so I threw it in a paper bag. And then, of course, they refused to share a bag. So then I went to go grab a plastic bag, and they threw a fit that I was trying to give one a plastic bag, which isn't the end of the world in the long run, but the paper bags are a lot more expensive than the plastic bags. And I realize now, like, it could have been like an environmental thing, like they don't want plastic bags, they only want the paper bags. I don't know what it was, but I was really flustered in the moment. And yeah, again, this is all just me being in a really bad mental space. I feel like I overreacted. Sorry, battery died. I did give them 2 paper bags, but I was just annoyed. Like, please don't throw a fit about the type of bag someone's giving you. I've had someone throw a fit in the past because I was going to give them a Halloween bag when it was the month of October. But regardless, I did sell the friendly frog from Crochet by Jenna's book, which was exciting because I don't think that frog's very cute. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I do still have another one, so we'll see how that does. And then I did get a custom order. So this might have been my first custom order where it's not like a, hey, can you make this same plushie just in a different color. This one was a little different though. So they purchased a mushy boy, left my tent. They went like 2 tents over and then came back like a minute later. And because I'd been talking to the mom about, yes, I do custom orders, I don't do copyright stuff, blah, 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 give her the whole spiel, you can email me. And so I guess she was telling her kid that that was an option. So they came back and asked if they could give the mushy boy back and I keep the money as a deposit, which typically I would have said no. But I could still see them when they left, and they were only gone for like a minute. Because once the plushie leaves my booth, I don't know what's happening to it. I don't know if they've licked it, if they've thrown it on the ground, if whatever they've done to it. So all my sales are final sale for plushies. But I went ahead and did it. So they asked for a teddy bear, and he essentially wanted exactly what my logo looks like, minus the bow tie. So it's a good thing I had just gotten the Premier yarn order because I had a bunch of browns to look through. I mean, I still didn't have ideally the brown I would like to exactly match the logo, but I got that out to them. So we got a deposit. I don't know if I'll count the deposit towards the market sales. I sold a mini zombie, which is exciting. I've had those for so long. They were, I think I made them my first year crocheting. The ones I still have might have been from a year later. I'm not sure. So they're like 2 or 3 years old, the ones I have. And the first year I had them, everyone knew exactly what they were. They could tell they were zombies. I made them in a variety of, like, whether they had 0 eyes, 1 eye, 2 eyes. They'd have X's if they didn't. They had brains sticking out. I used, I think it was a tie-dye-ish color. It's very similar to this one, if you can see it. That's when I learned that the tie-dye-ish and that one are very similar, but not at the same time. So I sold one of them. I even last year discounted them during the month of October. I think they were 60% off. I was really trying to get rid of them, but I still have a handful more. I guess I can look at, I have 3 more. Hopefully I'll sell them eventually. And then I also sold a mini candy corn. We sold no crochet kits. And then I did remember the stitch markers and resin eyes, but I just didn't put them out. So stickers, we sold quite a few actually. This was, aside from like big or I guess even at big festivals, aside from Pride where stickers sell really well, this is probably one of the best markets I've had for stickers. So I sold 3 of the frog stickers holding flags. I sold 1 bisexual, 1 progress, and 1 transgender. And then I sold 2 elephant, 1 alligator, 4 biceratops, 3 homosexual whale, 2 of the jackalope, 2 non-binosaur, and 1 triceratops in the blue color. And then I sold 3 herb strippers at $15 each. And lastly, I sold 4 bowls. So originally they were going to buy like 2 or 3, and then the person they were with kept talking them into getting more. And I think they actually bought all the bowls I had with me, which was very nice because they don't really sell very often and they take up a lot of space in the bowl. And then one of them was saying that they were like, man, they talked me into spending so much money. So I tried to, in a smooth way, throw in to be like, hey, you can feel better by telling yourself that you're helping fund my wedding. But then I felt awkward by saying that. So all in all, that came out to a grand total of $477 of sales, which is not bad, especially if you factor in the fact that it was a 4-hour market and it did rain at some point. But if you just look out, I'll throw up the numbers again. What I typically do at this market, it was not great. And when you're in the beginning of your craft fair market career, yes, this is a great market. But I'm at the point where I've been doing this for years, and I specifically only go back to events where I make a lot of money. So for me personally, a just shy of $500 market is a bad market. That doesn't mean you being excited about a $500 market is me judging you. There were points where I was excited by that, but I'm just at the point in my market career where that's just, the reality is it's not a good market and not worth my time. So I just want to throw that out there. I still am grateful for every sale that I did get. I am thankful for every customer I do have. I just, especially with it having been the last day of my seasonal job, I really wish that I would have just canceled the market and not gone. It just was not worth the time and worth missing the last day of that job. So I'll also throw up the numbers for profit. And if you also look at this, I only profited $22. So I do factor in my pricing the wage to make the plushies as well as the materials cost is factored into the price. So you'll see those numbers on my breakdown. And then from the profit, which at this market it looks like $247 was profit. That did not include the labor to make them or the materials. You still have to pay the booth fee out of that. So subtract the booth fee out of that. And then I deserve to get paid for being at the market. Now currently I only calculate sales hours. I'm not calculating setup and teardown in that number. So I have had some comments saying that it's ridiculous that I put that into my calculations, but I mean, if I go to my job at, say I work at Walmart, I'm gonna get paid for those 4 hours. So why should I not get paid for those 4 hours just because it's my business? That's just the way I look at it. So after you factor out all of the costs that goes into vending at this market, I profited $22, and that does not count gas, which I don't know how much that would have been. I do have pretty good miles per gallon in my car, so I don't typically calculate that out unless it's a really far market. I mean, this one was an hour drive, but you also have to, gas is very finicky. It depends on the miles per gallon. It depends on how much the gas is, so I don't typically worry about factoring gas into. So thank you so much for watching this video. By the time you've seen this, I will have already been to the September market, so hopefully it does a lot better. It is also right before my wedding, so I really need that one to make me some money because I could be focusing on wedding stuff. I think it'll be fine. My wedding's on a Tuesday, so it's not like the wedding's the next day. So I do have a couple more exciting markets coming up, so I hope you will hit that subscribe button and stick along if you want to see more market recaps. I know those videos are typically the ones that do better, which is perfectly understandable. I love watching a market video myself. Speaking of the market, I've got to go market prep some more. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!